We will call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Here.
Trustee Lappin.
Here.
Clerk Palovich here. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll.
Here.
Trustee Reiner.
Here.
Supervisor Skibby.
Present. Moving towards the adoption of the agenda, are there any additions, corrections, or substitutions to the agenda?
I have two additions. One is a quote from R&R Fire Truck and Repair.
We will put that at new business item 8, R&R repair. And your second?
And my second one is clerk's administrative assistant position.
Clerk, admin.
Number 9.
That will be new business 9.
They'll hire an assistant clerk.
I also
I
have
have no idea.
an order of operations change. I would like to drop public comment to just after old business and before new business.
Not everyone's capable.
Are there any other additions, corrections, or substitutions to the agenda as presented?
The problem with it is that every sound you can hear. So anytime you talk, he screams, she cries,
We can also hear you. So if there's no other additions, corrections, or substitutions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'm not gonna fight with you about it.
There you go.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Agenda as presented.
I've had to mute. the-
Support.
on the- Yeah, so- So we have a motion and support to adopt the amended agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Amended agenda adopted. Payment of bills. I believe that everybody received an email from Laura with the payment of bills. I will entertain a motion to make payment of the bills.
Motion to pay bill.
We have a motion on the table to make payment of the bills. Is there support? Support. We have support on the phone. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay. On to the minutes of November 10th, 2020, which was a regular meeting, and November 10th, the special meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented of both meetings?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to approve both the minutes of November 10th. Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Minutes approved. Moving forward to correspondence. This is a letter from the Long Lake Improvement Association, which is in your packet. I will entertain a motion to receive and file the correspondence as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Rob support.
I have a motion and support to receive and file. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of receiving and filing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Correspondence received and filed. On to old business. The intergovernmental agreement for the fire department organizational and response services. At this point in time, I would like to have the continuation of discussion that we as a board set for on November the 10th at our special meeting to address the concerns that were brought forth by the citizens. And really, this is open discussion. So if you have a discussion for our record so that the people online can hear us, they'll know who's discussing everything as we proceed. Table's open. Yes, Trustee Reinhardt.
Thank you. As I said at that meeting, and I still say today, I would like to try to work some changes to this contract. And specifically, I'm concerned about the response time related to emergent calls for medical assistance. As I understand it, and I can be corrected and educated here, that right now we have people that respond, that are first responders, but the initial people that respond there are permanent employed firefighter EMT. Am I correct about that?
That is correct. We have 2 stations, both staffed with one 24-hour shift.
I got so concerned about moving west or southwest on 32 or worse, because I think that if the responses that are coming out of the city or responses in those directions are probably the same as that. But north and south, I'm concerned that if we don't have people staffed in those stations, I'm hoping that the city would agree to amend the contract to allow personnel, I'm talking about full-time 24-hour personnel, be at those R2 stations. And so that would be something that I would hope to see. And if I understood the presentation, as far as firefighting, although I'm asking to give us specific, and someone did send us one today that I specific concerns in regard to fire response, because on the scene for fire response, but for the emergent care situations, the first responders, I would like to see something change there.
That's awesome.
Yes. Trustee Lappin, since we're just might as well just go the full width down the board since.
Well, there was some, the only areas that I was originally, and Russ has an excellent thought. I wondered the same thing too. How do we respond in a timely manner, not only for emergency services, but also for fire services? I did do some homework relative to, and one of my other questions was, how does this impact the township's fire ratings from an insurance perspective? And I did some research on it. I contacted ISO, which is the rate promulgating company, and the company that does a rather extensive 3-day visit. And essentially what I learned is that it would have no impact at all. So from that standpoint, I'm pleased with that. I would be happier if there were people that were manned here on a 24-hour basis and cannot just paid on call. That would be a concern. But and somewhere along the line, I'd like to have the contract tightened up in some areas. I'd have to review it again, but there were some areas that seemed to be a little bit lacking enough detail for me.
Any other observations, Trustee Lappin?
Not at this time.
Trustee Kroll, since you're on the phone and you would be the next.
So just to let you know, I can't hear, just get bits and pieces. So basically didn't catch anything that was said earlier. So I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of feedback.
We have some radio feedback on the line, but what we're just doing is going along the entire board and expressing our concerns, our observations as to the draft intergovernmental proposal that we discussed on the 10th. Any and all concerns. So from your standpoint, Trustee Kroll, please let us know and let the public know that's listening that we've heard them and we're trying to look at any and all ways to move forward.
Okay, so obviously this is just a draft and it's obviously been released to the people. I think this is the time for us to deliberate over it, look at it, assess it, do our part as the board and take all the concerns into consideration. At the end, we're probably going to have to take a vote one way or the other. And like I said, now is the time for people if they have concerns and everything that we've heard at the input. I'm sure we will take into concern and maybe things have to change. It's not a perfect agreement by any means, but we'll look at everything. I have no problem with that. I think we should be thorough and look at it all.
Any other comments, Trustee Kroll?
No, thank you.
Treasurer Ellery Summers?
I would also like to say the response times is also a concern for me, just like it is everyone else. And I do want, people to keep in mind that this, like Trustee Kroll said, this is a draft. It's a working document. It's not the final thing. And to get input from the public, is greatly appreciated. We work for the public. We are doing our due diligence through this process, and I think to keep reviewing it and getting clarification on it will get us in the correct direction of that suits everyone.
Anything else for the greater good? Michelle?
I too, of course, am concerned about response time. I can't imagine approving anything where the response times go up. And insurance rates. So I'm glad Steve checked into that. I also am concerned that just adding 3 more paramedics, EMT, firefighters to the city's employment would be enough to cover the city and the township, because the township is such a wide area. And I have to think about what currently happens now, like when this, let's say Northside gets out on a call and another call comes in. Does Southside come all the way across?
And actually online, do we still have Bruce? Bruce, are you there and representing Dave Robbins' seat?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Would you like? Did you hear Michelle's question as to response from North and backfilling? Did you hear that?
Yeah, when whichever side goes out, if North side goes out and the second call comes in, if it's not a full department page, the second station will cover that call.
Okay.
Say it again.
Could you repeat that again, Bruce?
If North side goes out on a call, the second call out, as long as it's not a full department page, the other station will cover the second call.
So if it's a medical call and Northside's already gone, Southside comes all the way across town, mutual aid from the city does not kick in yet.
No, the second call, the city's going to be dispatched also.
Okay.
Yeah, because in the ambulance emergency service, that fulfills our licensure as a BLS operation, correct, Bruce?
Yeah, the first call out, we have to have a BLS unit.
Okay. And Michelle, any other continuations? And so staffing of the 3 city positions, and if that's enough, kind of?
Yeah, I am concerned that that's enough because we are such a wide area.
Okay.
I do have concern about when it renews, I mean, is there going to be a cap at how much it can, like an inflation guard? I know it says 2%, but 5 or 10 years when it renews, what if the city says, well, we really need 10% a year? That concerns me, because once, if we don't have a fire department, it's going to be a lot of work to try to rebuild it.
Most definitely.
That happens to be one of the areas that I would like to button down more.
Okay.
Is that in the contract, it caps it at a maximum dollar amount. But I don't know what happens if circumstances change enough that they need to come back. And I don't know if that goes through the task force first, or how that ultimately gets back to both the city council and the county. So.
I guess I'm also concerned, like, we have the operating millage for the fire department. So if we're under contract and it keeps going up and our millage is staying the same, and we're going to keep digging more and more into general fund too. Which could happen now too if they don't pass the millage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the inevitable. I mean, that's one of the securities that the public did afford the township is the extension and expansion of the 1.5 operating mill and then the 5-year sunset 0.65 mill for equipment. And those are some of the questions that I've received as can you actually utilize township millage money for a merger or whatever, an iteration or reiteration of this option may look like. So, Michelle.
Would it hurt to put the millage wording on the website? Because there were quite a few people concerned about, the millage. What did it say? Can it be spent like this?
Yeah, we can get that up. That's definitely, because I think, Tim, you were part of that when we had that discussion.
Before we do the wording, I've got the ballot language, a little bit handy.
Yeah.
Give you that tomorrow.
Yeah, you could send it to Lynn and I, and that way we'll make sure that we get that language on the website. Trustee Reinhardt, I saw that you had
Well, it was talking about the millage, and I was just going to say, so I think you covered it, that it's a legal issue. I mean, it's a legal question, but I don't think I look at millage things to the council. I don't think that the millage language, as I understood it, would prohibit us from contracting the service where we would need to do it, use those millage funds for that. Equipment's a different issue. And the equipment that we buy is our equipment.
correct.
And
In this rough draft, I mean, yes.
yeah, well, and it should be, I think. It could provide services, but it's still, if we had to reconstitute the fire department in case we agreed to this, that equipment should come back to us.
Right.
All right, you still have more?
Nope, I'm good for right now, but I can't guarantee I'm completely done.
Well, and I think that's the exercise that we started. Trustee Foley?
Yes, I think two big concerns was response time, and a concern I'd like to add back to that is response time, but if we have somebody in place, who you're going to respond with. I'd like to see more activity directed to the city, that we would be responding with a paramedic, what do you call them?
Their LP units are paramedic firefighters. That's their job classification.
So that we would be staffing these stations with a person that could also wheel out the ambulance and use it accordingly, rather than now taking it out and waiting for the city to come. So I think that would be something to propose to the city. What can you do?
Not at all what it does.
This is not the time for online communication, but we will get there. Trustee Foley, continue.
So, and another thing that I'd like to see is when this draft gets pushed into, get some of these areas cleaned up, that the draft and the time of this agreement, that it be tied in with our millage agreement, which I believe was in 2018, so that they would coincide together, then they could start a new regime of whatever years it happens to be. I believe it's 10 years now, so maybe that'll be just 8 years, to see where the millage is at that time. I believe there's also a task force involved on there that any issues that come up, they would be able to be talked about by 2 people in the city and 2 people in the township. And I believe the chief would also have a say but not a vote. So I think we got that as a potential backup. And I'm sure there'll be some other things as we get talking, but that's it I have for right now.
Yeah, and I guess I would like to, yes, Michelle.
I just have a question about the task force, because it's, what happens if it's 2 against 2? So is it one of those task force where it'd have to be a 3-1 vote? I mean.
I agree, but I agree that it should be an odd number. I think that any board that has an even number is problematic. I recommend to all my corporate clients that they have a board of 1, 3, 5, or whatever, and the same, for the same reason.
Could there be on this task force an at-large citizen that would sit on this with 2 from the city, 2 from the township, and an at-large citizen?
Oh, I think in this regard, everything is on the table. So,
It was just a thought.
yeah.
So you're basically saying expand the fire task force.
Well, to be an odd number.
Yeah. Or structure the wording so that one entity couldn't overpower the other entity on a vote.
Well, I guess that's the reason for even numbers, isn't it? But perhaps it could be rotating. I don't.
Well, I think that's fair enough. If we're to take the concerns, of which that was part of what we did on the 10th, was introduce a potential to have that conversation. We as a board decided to do that. And we're still doing our due diligence to listen to the people that have the concerns. We need to make sure that we dot every I and every T if this is a direction that we continue to look for and drive down. That being said, we're also looking at internal mechanisms of what are the options available to us. So everything is on the table at this point in time. Trustee
I'll
Reinhardt?
say one more thing, and I'll try not to say anything else. My understanding is, my concept of this was that it's got to be at least as good and hopefully better service in every aspect we have now. Which is, one of the improvements I see is we have EMTs where the city is going to be staffing, training our people to get to paramedic status. And so I think that's a major benefit to our citizens, so that when we got a emergent health call and they go out as first responders, we've got people that do CPR and first aid, but we've got people that can inject whatever to help some stroke victim or heart patient or whatever, start an IV. So I see that. But what I want to challenge citizens, and one person actually seems to have tried to do that, is I'm saying try, I haven't looked at it totally. What I've had so far from folks, including people connected to our fire department, is that conclusion that services would be worse. The response times and services to our citizens would be worse, but they haven't given me many specifics, if any. And so my challenge is that before, or as we start talking to the city, the people that know more what they're talking about in terms of service can give us specifics, but then it can be addressed or back away from it. If the contract is not going to provide as good or better service. That's my.
Yes, and I will hop right on those exact, that train of thought. is I wholeheartedly believe it's been the direction of this board, including myself, that we look at and discuss all available options. I know that in its infancy, I think we heard a lot of emotional response, and rightfully so. There's going to be a period of time where there is emotional response. But I implore those same citizens to look at what any and all possibilities are. Because I can speak for myself and only myself that I would never vote on any contract that puts any of our citizens in a state of peril where they're not afforded the same services that they're currently provided. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that we discussed what we witnessed on the 10th. We can volley some of these concerns, I'm sure, given the consideration that City Council sat immediately to our right to the special meeting on the 10th, that they probably share some of these concerns. But we can kind of volley it back and see if this is a conversation that's worth taking place, continuing. Yes, Michelle?
I have another concern. The longer we talk, I'll probably come up with more. The city's union issued a statement that they were not for the contract as it was written. They didn't really say what. I just think they're vital to have them on board because they are going to be the ones covering the stations. And I just feel if they're against it.
Well, and I think that the natural progression of conversation is to see if this is a conversation that is still ongoing with potential